Hey, my name is Athena, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about Forever in a Kiss by Susan Hatler, book 7 in the Kiss by the Bay or Blue Moon Basin. It isn't quite the end of October as I'm filming this, but I recently went to my local library again for the very first time since 2019, bought some books, and since the books are due like mid-November, so before November is over, I thought I should film videos of the books that I read in October that I own, that are my own, before I read library loans. Anyway, this month, at least so far, I've read quite a lot of Dutch books, but first we get to the books that I read during my holiday. I went away for a week, and those are in. So anyway, I'm doing individual book reviews like usual. Let's just get into it. So the first book that I want to talk about is an ebook, hence my Kindle. This book is by Susan Hatler. She writes mostly romance books. I have read quite a few of her works, but I hadn't read much by her more recently. So I've mostly read more of her older works, and I really like her, since a lot of her books tend to be, some of them are more shorter. So she's an indie author. The very first book that I tried by her, I bought as a paper book. It was quite short, but I managed to find it. But then after that it was hard to find much else, so I decided to buy her books on Kindle. So I have a lot of her books on my Kindle, and I've read some of them. Well, let me talk to you about them, and also the most recent book I read, which maybe is the one I should start with. Forever in a Kiss is a romance book. I thought I'd check how many pages it has, but my Kindle doesn't actually have. This happens quite a lot with books on my Kindle. So 147 pages. For those of you who have been to my channel for quite some time, I read book 6 in this series, I want to say 2 years ago, in 2019. And then I was on holiday as I read book 6, and then I wanted to read book 7, the one I just read, but the file, the Kindle file for it was messed up, so it contained the wrong book basically. So after I actually made that video, the author contacted me and sent me the correct file, but it took me a while to get around to reading it, because I tend to read my Kindle more on holiday, and I hadn't been on holiday since 2019. I don't know if Amazon has fixed the file by now, but anyway. So in that video, and I will try to link it below somewhere in the video description, I presume I talked about this author and her series. I don't recall how much I said back then, so apologies for those of you who have seen the video and remember it. I mean, I don't think I would remember other people's videos after 2 years unless they were particularly memorable, so you know. Anyway, so this author writes romance books, and mostly I haven't read, she's written a couple of other books that are, I also have some other elements in it, and but I haven't read them, so I can't comment on them. I really enjoyed reading this book, and it made me feel nostalgic for her writing style, and her, you know, how much I remembered how much I enjoyed her books. Now this is book 7 in the series. So this series, Kiss by the Bay, so here, I don't know if you can see that, otherwise I'll put something else on the screen. Here are some of the other books the author has written that were listed at the end of the book that I just read. So Kiss by the Bay series. Goodreads calls it Blue Moon Bay, but the author herself, here it says Kiss by the Bay series, so that's what I'm going with. And here are then the titles up to what had been published up to when this book was. So Forever in a Kiss is the one I just read, and A Kiss for Santa is then the next one, but I don't know if there's any more because it doesn't list it here, obviously, as this is an older file. Anyway, the cool thing is, so each of the stories features a different character. So you can, in principle, just, it doesn't matter if you were to just pick up like something that's not book one. But the cool thing, that I think at least, is that all of the books are interconnected in that the character, and I'm just naming an example now, I don't recall on top of my head. Let's say the character in one book, then her friend is then the main character in the second book, sort of thing. And you see the other characters a bit still, if that makes sense. So in that sense, it would be best to read them like how they've been chronologically published, if you don't want like any spoilers for who's end up with who, sort of thing. Although they are romance books, and so it's not really hard to guess generally who the main character ends up with. But you know, for me, that's not the point of it. I also really like that her work, at least what I've read so far, doesn't have any like sexual scenes or like that. It is, well, she calls it clean on her website, I think. So it's more about like the characters getting to know each other and the romance and a kiss, and you know, not lots of sexy scenes, which is something that as a demisexual person, I'm not like, I wouldn't particularly pick up a book because it has sex scenes, if that makes sense. So earlier this year I read the Brown Sisters trilogy by Talia Hibbert, which does have sex scenes, but that's not the reason that I picked them up, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't, I really liked a lot of the other things about it, but that's not like a reason for me to pick anything up, because on its own, that's not really my sort of thing. I tend to feel a bit uncomfortable reading them. Anyway, we're getting off track. So, an earlier series by her, Susan Hatler, is called The Better Date Than Never series, and this lists the first 9, and then on the next page there is, oh, hang on. Sorry, sometimes my Kindle just likes to go back and forth, apparently, if I'm tilting it or something. There is like the 10th book. In the Better Date Than Never series, I have read all 10 books, and I think what I would like to do is do a reread of them sometime, because it's been a long time. So, the Better Date Than Never series, and then Kissed by the Bay series, they are slightly interconnected as well. Not anymore, but I mean, there is a connection somewhere, which I also thought was really cool. I don't quite remember what the connection is, because it's been some time since I read the first 10 books and then the first book in the Kissed by the Bay series, but it's like they all kind of take place in the same universe, which I always like when authors do that. And then we have the Do Over Date series, which here is 3 listed. There are many more out now, but obviously this book is older and not that old. But so the Do Over Date series has, it looks like 7 books at the moment that I have. I have loading random book now. Oh, I know what it's doing. It's a thing. If you shake it, then it gives you a random book. I'm gonna just turn that off, at least for this video, because that's not what I intend to do at this moment. But it's a cool feature for a few. Anyway, so the Do Over Date series, I have this. It looks like that I have the first 7 books, and I think I have pre-ordered books. Well, the next one would then be book 8. I think, if this is updated. So I still have all of those to read. I presume there's also an interconnection somewhere, but I haven't read them yet, so, you know. She's also written a series in which she has written, I think, is it 2 books? Or 1 book, and then other authors have written the other books, which are also like about a different character each time, I think, but I haven't read that one yet. So I do have that, her book, and also books by the other authors, but I haven't gone around to it. Those are Christmas theme. Anyway, So I have enjoyed all of her books that I've read, except Treasured Dreams, which I think is now compiled into like one thing, but at the time they were short, like short bits released every once in a while, and I didn't enjoy that at some point, so I DNF'd, I want to say book 5, or maybe I finished it and rated it low. I can't quite recall, but anyway, I really like all the other stuff that I've read by her, particularly like the longer stuff. So the one I've just read, which is Forever and a Kiss, it'll be easier. I'll just put some pictures on the screen or something, but now I need to know what I'm talking about. So, which was 147 pages. So these books tend to not be as long as like really long books or something, which makes them also, like, in my opinion, suited for reading on a holiday, just a nice and relaxing time. And you know, I don't like to read really long books on my Kindle anyway, so the shorter stuff suits me really well. I think, I don't recall on top of my head if it's all of them, but at least from what I recall, all the ones I've read were written in first person past tense from the main character's point of view. They're all women, it's targeted towards women. The love interests, at least what I've read so far, are all men, so just so you know that. And well, I started reading this author years ago. I can probably look up. The first book that I got to her was by her, I bought in 2012. It was also published in 2012 by the looks of it. Which that was not her first book, but that was the one that I first tried, based on ad from, this was another, I think this was a book blogger at the time. Was she also a booktuber? Possibly, but I haven't seen her for years. Anyway, so I've been reading her stuff for a while, and wow, this footage is getting long. So, Forever and a Kiss is about Claire. She has a business where she designs a wedding dress and helps with weddings and stuff. Her business isn't doing too well. She, I'll be right back. Yes, so I was talking about Claire and her business to design wedding dresses and about other stuff for the wedding. Now she loves this person named Alex, who when she was a young teenager, I think, loved, and they kissed over a game of spin the ball, and then she never forgot him, but she's also looking still for the one. And so Claire gets an opportunity to design a wedding dress for a famous model, and the famous model turns out to be a childhood friend slash rival from Claire. So there's kind of like a thing going on there between those two characters. I really liked reading about Claire's passion for the work that she does, and even though I could predict some things, I really liked the writing style. It was just an enjoyable, relaxing holiday read for me, and just what I wanted at the time. I know some of the people who regularly watch my videos and my booktube friends, some of you don't read romance at all, and that's fair enough, and some of you do, and that's also good. It's all good. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in my next one. Bye!